listening to a Bored to Death Mandocast, talking all things Star Wars in easily digestible chunks.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, and other assorted gender assignations. Welcome back to the Bored to Death Mandocast, here to discuss Star Wars Visions. I am Jay, being joined by
Zeke
and
Road.
Yep.
Jay, I'm scared this time.
Why?
I enjoy a Star Wars thing, and I'm not sure if I should have. I'm scared.
That's right. Zeke is not as big a Star Wars fan as me or Chris, who unfortunately could not be here. Once again, the work monster grabbed him. But Road was happened to be here because we just recorded another Titans Hero Cast.
You guys
yesterday.
wouldn't even know that it had came out this week if I hadn't told
Well,
you.
no. Well, I hadn't realized it was coming out this week, and that the whole season was going to drop this week.
Well, the thing about it is, originally, from what I understood, it wasn't supposed to come out until October originally.
I don't care that they released it early, especially after watching it.
I'm happy it came out early.
And I should note we are recording this after having watched all 9 episodes, because they are all generally pretty short. None longer than like 22 minutes.
Short, direct, and very well
done. If you are not aware, Star Wars Visions is essentially an anthology series. Not unlike, say, the Animatrix or Halo Legends.
Or
Gotham Knights. Where they outsourced it essentially to several different animation studios and let them tell short, pretty much self-contained stories. Well, Gotham Knights wasn't so much self-contained. They were all supposed to somewhat be connected. But in very broad sense there. Here, there's no interconnecting story at all. It's all just stories either set in or seen through the lens of the Star Wars universe in a lot of respects, or at least very Star Wars-esque stories full of symbolism in a lot of cases. And they are all pretty good, and some of them are very good. And just like we'll start with the first episode, which is called The Duel. And that one was done by Kamikaze, I believe.
Yes, and dear God, that thing was...
The style of it was fantastic. Mostly black and white. Very sort of...
to old Asian...
Yeah, like very samurai.
It was Akira
Kurosawa. Yeah.
Kurosawa all in.
Mm-hmm. Very, black and white with flashes of color. Mostly... Well, there was blue and green and yellow with the droid, with Ronan's droid.
Oh yeah, there was.
But largely just black and white, and you're very much like an Akira Kurosawa film, like with a wandering
Ronin,
and literally that's all that's he's addressed as Master Ronin by one of the villagers. And even then, you got the impression he wasn't calling him by name. He was just calling him, Master, because obviously you are more important than me, and Ronin because you are a wanderer. But he's just passing through this town that's suddenly beset by bandits, and Ronin just sort of sits up in this one guy's like house.
Now, I mean, the town had gotten some defenses, and the defenses were doing relatively well until...
But the problem was they hired the Magnificent Seven, and the Magnificent Seven, as magnificent as they might be, are going up against a Dark Lord, because the bandit leader is a Sith, or at least a dark side user, and she basically takes him apart. Her men capture the quote-unquote chieftain, who was just a little kid, because the actual chieftain is either sick or dead.
I thought he was dead, because it looked like the padding was over his eyes, not above his forehead. I don't remember seeing
padding over his eyes, but regardless. And when this happens, Ronan... because one of the blasts that from one of the defenders got deflected by the by the bandit chief's lightsaber umbrella thing, which was a neat little way to do the whole thing. Although it was more or less an attachment to her lightsaber that just sort of projected the plasma out of the little umbrella struts.
Well,
the main problem that I had with it is
the design is actually from another movie associated with Kamikaze, and it's a live action movie where the main protagonist actually uses a bladed umbrella to fight with.
But I like how
they incorporated lightsabers into this.
The main problem I had with it is that when she jumped off of their little like transport thing, and it's spinning, and she uses that to like hover. I'm like, no, I don't like that.
It's okay. You find more annoying things.
There are other things to complain about in episode 3, which we'll get to. But after she sort of took that off and fought Ronan directly, because Ronan basically steps in, and when he uses the Force to like stop a blaster bolt and send it back at the guy that fired it, I think you commented on that, Road, when we saw the same thing repeated in several other episodes of Visions. It's like everybody saw Kylo Ren do it, and now it's the cool thing everybody's got to be able to do.
It's the thing to do. No, Jedi don't stop; they redirect.
Well, regardless,
but still, it was cool.
Yeah, it's cool, and I'll allow it because cool.
Coolness wins.
But then when he draws his lightsaber, it's also colored red.
Yeah,
which leads everybody to think, he's another Sith, and so. But then the bandit leader's just like, why are you defending them? You should be working with us. And he just straight up says no, and that's when the duel kicks off between the two.
And it was an impressive duel.
They were pretty well. They were pretty well matched, evenly matched. They start drifting down the river on a log, but then the bandits get their act together. They capture everybody, and basically are trying to tell Ronan to stand down. But Ronan, it almost seemed like he got involved when she first stepped out and deflected one of the blaster bolts with her lightsaber umbrella, which reflected into the guy's house that he was in and damaged his droid. And he asked the guy,
please fix my droid by the time this pot starts to hum, and sure enough, he did.
And then the droid suddenly
calls to his droid, and his droid.
The thing that we see is Ronan, turns off his, still has his lightsaber out, and his hand is positioned in a very sort of like martial arts sort of way, like he's got it poised right by his wrist, but he's actually used the Force to basically activate his droid, which rockets into town and then unleashes a little Macross mini missile barrage, which takes out every single bandit. One comes flying towards the bandit leader, who chops it out of the sky, and then the duel's back on between the two. But then he gets knocked out over the edge of a waterfall.
It hides in the waterfall.
Mm-hmm. And, she knows he's not dead.
Right.
So she jumps down to
finish him off. And he's hiding in a
little shrine behind the waterfall. Shrine.
You'll find, in Japan, there are a lot of shrines behind cliffs and waterfalls.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Which are actually
very symbolic.
To see a couple of them, and they're really beautiful.
Well, but she can see that there's a shape behind the waterfall.
That's because he.
No. I was getting to that because she had raised her lightsaber and slashed at it, and then she could see.
You see the lightsaber through the water, so you know where he generally is.
Well, no, because what I was going to say is she could see a shape back there. It looked like he was sitting lotus style. So then she pulls the log, which she had sort of held with the Force, just over the edge of the waterfall, so it blocks enough that she can get inside. And that's when the lightsaber, in the seated figure suddenly activates. She lunges in, slashes. Oh, that's just a statue in the shrine. And then Ronan just backstabs her and
quality work.
Collects her lightsaber. pays his respects to the statue.
Sorry, I got you cut in half.
Yep. Goes back up to the village, and then everyone is sort of shocked because they see his lightsaber is red, and now they're assuming that he's just as bad as them because they know that a red saber means Sith. But he then smashes the bandit leader's lightsaber and takes out the red kyber crystal. And then he opens up his robe, and you see that he's got several other red kyber crystals.
Collected kyber crystals.
But then he gives the one that he just took to the little kid chieftain.
Supposed to help ward away bad people.
Yep. And then he just sort of wanders off with his droid.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yes.
Beautiful start to Visions, and apparently, it's already loved enough that it's got a book deal.
Not just a book deal. The book is apparently coming out next month, in
mean,
October.
They waste no time, will you?
I
don't mind.
Yeah, it's very possible that they pre-screened it with enough people, and made them sign NDAs so that they wouldn't.
Who all agree that this is what we need in our lives.
Yeah,
and so I agree with them.
And Road, when I mentioned this to him, he's like, "I want to know where I can get this. Let me know if you find out, and I'll let you know if I find out before you." It's like, yeah, I want that book. Episode 2, Tatooine Rhapsody, much more less stylish, not quite as to the same. Well, all of them have very different styles. Even the ones there were multiple episodes I think that were done by the same studio, but they still had different styles for each one. But Tatooine Rhapsody, it's focusing on this band, like this. I think they call themselves Star Wavers or something like that.
And one of them is a Hutt. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately,
he doesn't want to take up the Hutt legacy of being a gangster.
And unfortunately, that Hutt that he's supposed to be working with is Jabba.
And Jabba don't play that way.
Jabba, of course,
Well, given that how Jabba has seen people, seen Hutts that don't go along with the usual Hutt legacy, like Zero.
God, Zero.
It's just like I can understand why he might be like, no, if you don't toe the line, then you're dead. But the lead vocalist and guitarist for the band was a Padawan,
and the Hutt took
G,
care
I think,
of him.
G, I think, or something like that.
Took care of him, and I mean, the band, they actually were good.
Yep. But the episode...
They generally care about one another.
Mm-hmm. But after we get a brief little flashback of how the Padawan, whose name was Jay, or at least was called Jay by the rest of the band, drops in on them, and they sort of welcome him in. Fast forward a few years later, and they're performing somewhere, and then suddenly Boba Fett shows up.
You keep in mind, it wasn't them welcoming in yet. You got forward a little bit. It was just him going, "Who are you?" And this big creature comes out of his shadow, extending his hand out.
Yeah.
So it wasn't
and it was G. But
you didn't know that at the time.
That's true.
And then they start playing this song, and the Padawan starts singing it like a very high pitched note. And then that's when
Boba Fett shows up.
Yep.
And he wasn't singing. He was just trying to introduce everybody in the band. You got G, and you got her and him, and I'm your singer, and the feedback keeps blowing out and stuff. Then Boba Fett turns up, looking to take G in, and they got Tamir Morrison to do the voice for it. So.
I mean,
we need you to come in and just do a few lines, please. That's all we need.
Well, it was I think it was Tamir Morrison. It certainly sounded.
It sounded so much like.
If not, then D. Bradley Baker is getting way better at doing the Boba Fett voice. But
it scared me.
Yeah,
his skill is growing.
And so, but Star Wavers basically quickly fight off the other guys with Boba Fett, distract him, and they get away in their ship. But then Boba Fett just shoots it down, captures G, and takes him off. And you can see Jay is thinking about, do I want to fix my lightsaber and go and save him?
Blazing.
And what he decides instead is, he's just, because he realized, I'm not a Jedi. I'm not cut out to be a Jedi, but I am. We are a band, and so what they do is they go to Jabba and convince Jabba, let us perform one last time before you execute him. And so it's at the same venue where the pod racing thing had kicked off back in episode 1. But obviously it's like the public grounds, for the area. And so they perform a song, and the crowd is getting into it, and it cuts over to Jabba, who's sort of watching him passively, but then you see a reverse shot, and that tail is tapping. And then after they finish, and you can see that also that this is being broadcast across Tatooine. You see other people on Tatooine all looking at their tablets and stuff. It's
broadcasting in his area.
Yeah, that's
true. You gotta
true.
remember, Tatooine is cut into different areas by different gangsters.
Very true.
Jabba has the largest portion.
Well, still,
it's in his area.
Exactly. And after they're done, Jay then suddenly goes, so Jabba, we're going to be the number one band in the galaxy. How would you like to be our first sponsor?
And and he plays to the one thing that works with Jabba.
Money. And you can see Jabba's like looking at him like, I want to execute this. I want to execute that guy for not towing the line. But you got a set of balls that are made of brass, kid. I like you.
and the idea is
making
rather good. So it's like, okay.
And plus, like, some people in the crowd start chanting for like one more song, and you can see Jabba's just like, I don't have to listen to them.
No, but
I can listen to the sound of the money. And so he basically, he agrees, and they start performing again. And you can see people are getting into it, and you even see Boba Fett leaning against the wall, arms folded, sort of nodding his head to the nod. It's just sort of like, wow. But it was a fun little episode.
It was a very fun,
and it's
lighthearted episode.
And that is one that's.
I believe that this could still fall into a canon-like version for kids.
Yeah,
because there is some.
And I commented on it while they were performing the song. I was like, this sounds like it could be a theme for an anime, like an opening or closing theme, somehow.
Like they could actually continue this just to see how they fare. And
or at the very least, in some future Star Wars movie or show, drop in a reference to Star Wavers.
We see them. Yeah, that would work.
We don't necessarily have to see them, but we hear a snippet of their song, or there's like a poster on the wall with like their pictures on it, like clearly like an advertisement, poster sort of thing.
It's a Gundam thing.
Yeah.
Remember when the MS-18, where what's his name?
Yeah.
They're just flying around. You just hear the song playing on the radio. Hey, we played that song.
Yeah, I remember that song. Did it anyway? Episode 3 is the one where it's like, okay, that's not how any of this shit works, but...
Episode 3, I'm at work, and my response, I'm trying to... I know Jay hasn't seen any of this,
because you can watch this stuff at work. I can't. The network at my job does not allow any of the streaming services apart from like YouTube to actually play this stuff.
I have to watch. My network doesn't either. I have unlimited data for a reason now.
Yes, but I can't take my phone into work, so I can't.
Oh, that does suck. Okay, yes. You can't be that.
I work from home, so
I can't.
That's the only reason I knew what was going off, and I'm sitting there, of course, not paying attention to work because Road hates his job.
Anyway,
and all of a sudden, Jay and the Rose get a message going, when did Jedi stop breathing in space?
Yeah. But this is where, symbolism and just sort of rule of cool, I guess, is in full effect. Because, while it's cool, in the back of my head, I'm just like, no.
But still, they had a dynamite idea with the twin Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
The Twins was done by Trigger, the same studio that did Kill la Kill and a couple of other things. And the gist of it is there are these two twins that were conceived in the dark side. Conceived in the dark side, not by the dark side. This isn't supposed to be another like Anakin Skywalker sort of thing.
They found out they can make cookies.
Yeah, they literally these two were grown in a lab, and they were like Am and Kari, I believe.
Yes,
were the two names, and the Empire had built this Gemini-class Star Destroyer, essentially two Star Destroyers connected connected at the sides with a big-ass cannon in the middle of it, because if there's one thing that the Empire and the Sith in general love, it's giant planet-killing weapons.
Gotta kill them
And
planets.
the power core for this thing was, of course, empowered by a Kyber crystal. Kyber crystals were all over this series. I think Tatooine Rhapsody was the only one that didn't have a Kyber crystal factor into it in some way.
Wow, you're right. You had a vision of a lightsaber, but you never saw a Kyber crystal.
Episode 4, The Village Bride, didn't have Kyber crystals factor into it.
That's true too.
No, it had the big black stone. When they put the hands.
Yeah, but that wasn't a Kyber crystal.
That wasn't a Kyber crystal.
That was just a shrine of some sort. Anyway, but the twin, and so we get a lot of like exposition from Am, the sister's droid, explaining everything about the Gemini class cruiser, how it works. You know that the power core charges both the hyper cannon and this prototype dark armor that they're wearing, and I'm just like, why is he telling her all this? She knows all this already.
We hope
this
she knows all
was no, this was literally what they were bred for. But whatever, they've got to get this all out there. Except, Master Kari, the brother, has decided, I
ain't about this life.
He's basically like, screw the Empire, screw the Republic. Nobody deserves to have this kind of power. He ganks the power core, and of course, Am is just like, no, I'm not going to let you do that. And yada yada. He ends up getting blasted out into space because he tries to escape in it. He tries to escape in an X-wing.
I love how we just jump from one point to another.
I'm just trying because we have several more episodes to get through.
But yes, but it's still the same.
It's just like, what the heck?
They're outside.
No. Because he's taking his armor off at this point.
You're missing my favorite part, though.
Which is?
The little droid. As they're walking, he said the briefcase. Yeah, they just stole the power crystal in their ship. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's gonna be okay. And the droid like beeps something. Door opens. Guard standing there. Okay, yeah, I know you told me so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that's fair, right? And Kari just, rather than cut them all down with a lightsaber or anything, he just force slams them all into the wall. It's just like, sorry.
He walks. That's what best part. He walks through them like. He's like, we don't want to do this. Don't make us, please. I don't want to fight.
Return the power core right now. They're all like aiming their guns at him, and he's just walking through without a care in the world. Set blasters to stun.
And my brain said that. Says, wait, hold on. You're going against a Sith, and your first response is send them to stun. If you ain't going after Sith with a killing blow, you're screwed.
Well, even if you go for a killing blow, you're still screwed. But yeah, they try to shoot him. He force stasis thing, to stop them. And then he just slams them all into the wall. And then he goes, sorry.
This episode,
at least he apologized. Yeah.
This episode literally just had me giggling the whole time.
Yeah, because of just the ridiculousness of so much of it. And he takes off in an X-wing and starts trying to escape, and his sister just force grabs the power core, rips it straight out of the ship, while he's trying to hold on to it, thus leaving him in the vacuum of space with no support systems. She at least is wearing the armor, but he has nothing. I'm just like,
don't matter, don't need it.
Yeah,
I think the answer to our question of how can Jedi breathe is anime.
Yeah, just anime rules.
Just anime.
But yeah, and they have essentially their own little fight on top of the Star Destroyer. She is ridiculously, powerful, and her armor gets supercharged by the Kyber crystal when it gets broken slightly.
But Jay, what's the reason for him to take the crystal though?
Because he had a vision that she was going to die, and he didn't want her to die.
He didn't want his sister to die.
And she's just sort of like, I am willing to die for the glory of the dark side. And he's just like, no. It's like, you might be ready to die. I'm not ready for you to die. And
I mean, I gotta give him credit. Mm-hmm. He loved his sister and wished.
And so, but she like takes a chunk of the kyber crystal, plugs it into her armor, which gets supercharged, and it turns out she's essentially got like the spider arms from Peter Parker's Iron Spider suit from the MCU with lightsabers attached to it.
Lightsaber.
But no, not lightsabers, light whips. Because those things were slashing all over the place.
But then once he
takes a chunk of kyber crystal himself, plugs it into a light. Well, no, he has a lightsaber. He ejects the current kyber crystal, puts this one in because I guess it's supercharged somehow.
Right, and uses it to capture the whips and start reeling her in.
And tries to like overwhelm the armor or something.
Cuts it all off. And now she's like, you know what, fuck this. We're going General Grievous style. And activates lightsabers on all the arms.
Not only General Grievous, she went bayonet on his ass. She had
lightsabers in her heels. I forgot about that. I even called it out while we were watching. It's like she's bayoneting this shit. It was like, wow.
She was ready for Freddy.
But then her armor starts getting overloaded, and meanwhile his droid, comes to the rescue in the X-wing again.
Launched out to space,
and it catches him.
But
and
still,
his sister's meanwhile dying because the thing is overloading. He's like,
but not because she can't breathe in space.
Not because she can't breathe in space, because her helmet got knocked off in the midst of all this, because reasons. Again, rule of cool sort of thing. But no, she I think she took the helmet off.
No, it got shot off. Because when they do the force lightnings on the crystal,
the
lightning bounced back and smacked the helmet off.
That's what it was. But and he's just then the droid starts beeping at him, and so then he's like translating and thus expositing all this stuff. It's just
you want to use
like
hyperforce,
hyperdrive, and with my lightsaber. So he's standing on the nose of his X-wing as his droid pilots him in. And then he just basically like supercharges the lightsaber and holds it up, and they like fly upside down towards her, punch the hyperdrive, and just cuts the kyber crystal straight off of her armor, wrecking the Star Destroyer in the process and most of her armor, and
sends her flying.
And the whole ship's getting destroyed. It's very much like the scene in The Last Jedi when
you gotta give this man credit because he was able to control his lightsaber in hyper speed just enough to let it go up and cut over just enough to cut the crystal out and not cut her, but they finish off the rest of the ship. That was impressive cut.
And they invented the boob window in the process.
Boob window has made it to Star Wars, folks.
And then we see like the wreckage. It's very much like in Last Jedi.
She's
floating in space. And
then
her droid shows up, and the droid has a helmet
on. Okay. I'm a little confused. The droid needs a helmet. But not the people.
And it's a protocol droid too. That's the thing. It's like an evil. It's like an evil 3PO.
The best part about that was just watching your reaction.
I was like, what?
Wait for the cherry. Here comes the cherry on the top, Jay. Droid.
I was like,
what?
Why does the droid have a helmet? Well, anyway, Kari crashes on some planet. He's fine, of course.
I want to know how all that non-belief. The one I want to know in hyperspeed.
Did he survive?
Oh no, I'll go over that. He has
this is true. He survived in the vacuum of space for a protracted fight.
He has a very durable body. We'll go over that. But the plane, the X-Wing is flying, crashing in, and somehow his body transfers from the front of the plane to the top of the plane.
No, see, I didn't take that to mean that's where he ended up after they crashed. I took that to mean they crashed and he was just, lying on the end of the ship after the fact. Okay.
Okay, so you think
I don't think that he ended up there. I think at some point after the hyperdrive thing, he probably got back into the X-wing, okay. and then piloted it in. It crashed. he got out and then climbed up to the top.
I took it the other way. I thought he blacked out, and because his eyes.
Given everything else that went on in that episode, I don't blame you.
But I know is clearly I need to become a Jedi so I can walk in space. Clearly,
they weren't Jedi. They weren't Jedi. They were dark. They were dark side. You know, they were. They were both Sith.
Can do it. Jedi should be able to.
This is true.
Well, actually, this is what I want to ask you. Now that everybody's here, I can ask this question: was one Sith, one gray?
I would probably go with that.
I would go with that because he was able to wield both light and dark powers.
And
so that would make him gray.
He wasn't very Sith-light, in my opinion. He was more kind of Sith, but not Jedi.
It was more like he'd been raised in the dark side and was just sort of like, you know what? No. And then he looked at the light side and was like, you know what? No.
Yeah.
Because Gray Jedi refuse to follow either or. Mm. They rely on balance alone, which is actually the right way of doing things.
Perfectly in balance, as all things should be.
Right. Literally, Jedi, truthfully, are a bunch of hypocrites. Mm. Sith aren't necessarily totally wrong.
It's just more they go way too
They go overboard and extremes with everything. But the proper way of everything is
balance.
Balance. And that's Cal Katarn and the Grey Jedi Knights. Another Grey Jedi Knight is Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm. And then episode 4 was The Village Bride. And,
that was
another very good one.
Now, the reason why I like this one the most is because it added more musical aspects to it. Because I've talked to you about anime with me before, where the musical cues drag you more deep into it. Mm-hmm. And while everyone had more action pieces, there wasn't that much musical cues to the other pieces.
There were a couple, but yeah, this one had a lot more musical stuff going on into it. And this one, they're on some planet with obviously abundant with resources. I take the timing of this one to be right at the sort of beginning of the Empire after the Separatists Separatist War has ended. The Clone Wars have ended. Mm-hmm. And there's this warlord that wants to exploit the resources, like always, and has a bunch of Separatist droids reprogrammed.
Idiots.
Yeah. The old Roger ones reprogrammed to serve him, and the villagers have agreed to let him take what resources he wants, but as collateral, he wanted to take the village chief. But instead of the chief was willing to do this, but then his granddaughter basically said, "No, I'll go in your place." But the day before she's supposed to go, she gets married to her longtime boyfriend, and part of the marriage ritual, I guess, in this culture involves going up to this sacred place where there's this like shrine by this rock, the black rock you were talking about. But as part of this is like the bride's feet aren't supposed to be dirty, and so he's literally carrying her up the mountain on his back in a chair strapped to his back. It felt very Death Stranding to me.
Well, let's back a little bit because we're introduced to a traveler in a mask who is called by, I guess, a friend of hers. Mm-hmm.
Who is I think the guy wearing the bucket on his head.
We'll call him Buckethead.
Buckethead. Yeah, I'm sure they gave him an actual name in the episode, but in a lot of cases I missed the names.
Buckethead is way cooler.
Yeah. Buckethead invites her, and he's like he wants to show her something. And while they're doing their walk, they're seeing the cause and effect for the bride and the groom. Mm-hmm. Where they see him walking up and climbing the mountain. Well, it looked to be a bridge, and he's like, there's no bridge, so I got to climb up the mountain even more. And she, that's when they get to the walk, like you were saying. And
they perform like a little ritual there, sort of implying that they are one with the
one with each other
and one with the world. And they like place their hands on the stone, and it sort of resonates. And then you see the memories of the world as you get like a little flashback to when they were all kids, playing together. And then that's when Buckethead explains to this woman who it's very easy. You pick up very quickly that she's a Jedi, even though
I thought she was Sith.
I picked up very early that she was going to be Jedi.
She was.
Say what you like about how they interpreted things across all the episodes. One thing that all of them had in common is that the Sith all had black and red. She didn't have much red, as much red as some of the others. Yeah, there's some in the lining of her hood, but I didn't take her to be a Sith.
Plus, most of the Sith are portrayed as very forward. Mm-hmm. She was reserved as hell.
Mm-hmm. But you also said most of the Sith. Like there's been some characters in here who.
Well, yeah, and the next episode we encountered a bunch of Sith, but that's an exception, and we'll get to that.
Well, I'm not just thinking about that. I'm thinking about the fact of the guy, the Ronin guy. Mm-hmm. He was very passive. He wasn't Sith, but he had Sith.
I think he's Grey Jedi.
So, at the very least.
Yeah, I think
he's more a Sith hunter.
But he had the crystal, which we didn't know what he was until it came out.
That's true.
And that's why I said to them, like, are they doing that again? Because I knew she was a Force user.
I don't mind if they're trying to introduce more like Greys into the Star Wars.
Seriously, we don't have a large representation of Grey.
Mm-hmm. But regardless, after they are finished doing their little ritual there, they return to the village where there's the celebration dinner. Buckethead and the woman are both invited to be there as well. But there's also an element of mourning to all this because the village knows the bride is going to leave the next day to go with the warlord.
And I love how they do the expeditions on that with the guy who's drinking, handing out the drinks. And then he starts drinking from the thing.
He just drinks straight from the bottle.
Before he even gets stopped.
It's less the bottle. I think that's more the decanter. It's like they pour from a bigger jug into that thing, and he then pours. So they're not carrying around this giant jug everywhere.
Still, I gotta give him credit.
He was keeping it together, and then he was like, "Oh, we're about to lose her."
We're about to lose her. And then he just goes to town with it. I'm like,
"Exposition, dog." And then he holds the bottle and goes, "This isn't strong enough."
Yeah, and then his wife shows up and just like, "You idiot."
I hope we.
But then we also see the bride's sister, who is not happy about this whole arrangement, and she and some other people in the village are intending to rebel against the warlord, and so that happens the next day when the handover is supposed to take place, and but the warlord had already captured the sister.
Well, I'll back up a little bit more.
Okay.
Because the floating walk, when she's holding the walk in the air of the Force, I think that's a very key point of this one, because she runs into the princess, the wife.
The bride,
and they have a talk. Like, do you feel the
Magina, I think they called it, which is essentially, the people in this village refer to this like connection they have with everything as Magina. As soon as they say that, we're all thinking Force. It's essentially the Force.
And she's like, I have a bad.
I had forgotten about that scene.
The plan feels like it's not the right thing to do practically, and she goes, "Well, I'm not going to be alone," and then she walks off with her husband at that point in time.
It's just sort of like, we may be separated, but I will still be with him because of this connection thing.
And it's adding more to give the woman that came down more back to, I guess, change her personality a little bit. Because even he says, "I don't care about your code." Because remember when they were doing the drinks? Bucky said, "I don't give a crap about your code," practically. Yeah. And he's just trying to make her see things differently. Yeah.
It's just like, it's fine that you have a code, but sometimes the code needs to be flexible. And so, the sister and the intended rebels get captured. The warlord's about to execute them. And then the woman turns up and force stasis to stop the shot, and then redirects it right back at the warlord. And then Buckethead, turns out he's a sniper. He's camped up on a ridge, to starts picking off the droids.
And the droids are so awesome.
The droids are so stupid.
I see him. He's over there. Bam!
Yeah, and then as they start shooting back, he takes the bucket off of his head, throws it over the side, and they're like, "Oh,
what's that?"
And it lands,
what is it?
and they crowd around it, and then it turns out it's got some rockets in it, and it goes
fires right into the ship and blows it,
and deactivates the control signal, so all the droids just go.
Now, I do like the fact that we have a nod to the Old Republic in this as well, because the freighter that they're using is actually the old smuggling freighter from the Old Republic game. And I'm sitting there like, oh, now that's a throwback, because that model is actually old as shit by the time we get
Which again puts it in the same rough timeline, yeah.
Right. Like when you get to the Clone Wars, that model is actually totally defunct, because the new freighters, their line starts from Millennium Falcon upwards.
Yeah. But regardless, it was
just like,
it was a nice little touch.
Nod, and
like,
okay.
Well, but the warlord gets back up, and he's got the bride, and with a gun to her back.
After all his henchmen went away in terror.
And he's just sort of like demanding to know who the woman is. And
You're a monster. Who are you?
And she takes a little like face mask she'd been wearing off. We see that part of the reason why is probably because she's a bit self-conscious about the scar she's got on her cheek. But she then takes out her lightsaber.
Which I would like to pause on this. Mm-hmm. That's one thing this show did really awesomely. It wasn't all the same lightsaber.
Yeah, the lightsaber designs were all pretty unique and different.
She had like a sword-like lightsaber that came out like a samurai sword.
Well, so did Ronin.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. The different ones, like you had different types of swords, different color swords. Mm-hmm. It wasn't all just like that light.
Yeah, and the elder in the later episode had those two ones that had the little.
Yeah, he had dagger. He had dagger.
I took those to be more like Wakizashi.
Well, that's what that's generally the line of them.
Yeah, but
you get what I mean. They were very big. But yeah,
and she takes her.
Hers was not a long sword. It was more of a medium.
Mm-hmm. Sort of katana sort of thing.
Yeah, it's medium length, so mm-hmm. It wasn't a full size.
But
still,
and her shoe unbuckled. And Max
that's when we know she was getting serious.
And, well, no, because she takes it out and raises it up, and she's like, I am a Jedi. And the warlord still got the gun, and she then, like, sheathes the sword, and she like, hunkers down, and, yeah, you see her, like, see her shoes, starting to...
What she did was, basically, she did Kenshin's move, which is the draw strike.
Yeah, the Iajitsu, or whatever.
Yeah, it's a draw strike.
But it was also combined with a flash step.
Yeah, with serious
takes the warlord's arm off.
Yeah, the warlord didn't know what hit him.
And
he dies not knowing what hit him.
It was a great little scene, and she then, sort of newly resolved to go and fight injustice in the galaxy, sort of thing.
Yeah,
gets back on her ship.
She gets inspired,
and
which
leaves.
I think was the entire reason that she was called there.
Yeah,
because.
There's a lot.
Her master is no longer.
There's a lot of that throughout Star Wars visions of somebody feeling the call of the Force or whatever and going off to fight injustice or something.
Yeah. See, where you all want to see more After Effects, this is the one I want to see more prequel.
You want to see a prequel and find out what the story is of her?
Yes, because she has some flashbacks of people she was in a fight with people she knew was dying. And before she came to a realization she was going to fight and she cut her hair, she closed her eyes and she saw the red sable. Mm. And I'm like, what messed with her?
I think it was that she lost her master, and had just basically
and probably also Order 66 and all that stuff.
Yeah, she basically just lost her way. This was the guy was the. Buckethead was a friend of her master's, mm-hmm. and he called her there to try and get her
to try to wake up.
And then the galaxy still needs you.
Then we had episode 5, The Ninth Jedi.
I like this.
Oh, this one was great.
This one, the story was very good to me. I like
the story here is. I missed part of the opening narration.
So the opening narration is. The king of this world that is rich in kyber crystals has decided that he wants to try and help rebuild the Jedi Order, and he has commissioned a lightsaber smith to create new lightsabers that he wishes to give to
Masterless
Jedi, and they can reform the Jedi Order. He's
the Margrave, that was his title.
Yes, he's invited them to his world to start this.
Yeah.
So
well, okay. Yeah, but there was more. I picked up that from the opening scene when Blue, whatever his name was, the guy we see here in the thumbnail.
Yeah.
When he arrived at the Ariel Temple or whatever. But there was like some narration before that where basically like lightsabers had essentially ceased to be.
Yeah, lightsabers have ceased to be by this time.
And that's all these Masterless Jedi are turning up at this planet to this Ariel Temple thing. They all reveal the message they got from the Margrave, who, as you said, wants to reestablish the Jedi Order and provide lightsabers to the Jedi. And we see this one Jedi turn up. Again, I missed his name in the episode. I'm just calling him Blue because he was wearing a blue. He was wearing a blue cloak.
I didn't catch any of their names, and I don't think you really do get one or two of them. You get their names.
The girl, you get the girl's name and the Smith's name, but I can't remember what it is at the moment. But after all these Jedi sort of gather and they show their message, they're like, "Where's the Margrave?" This big ass droid who I got real like Samuel Hayden from Doom 2016 vibes off of. I mean, given the stature and the design of him, and he had that deep voice going as well. But I'm looking at it because it's sort of dark, not necessarily black, but sort of dark armored, and had that red optic. I'm like, I'm getting some hinky vibes off of this. Plus, the Margrave's message. He's wearing this mask that's black, and it has like little lenses with glowing red strips, like slits for the eyes. I'm just like, I'm getting hinky vibes off of this.
All I gotta say is if video hologram messages come real life thing, and you guys send me a message that spins around, I'm hunting you guys down. That drove me up the wall as he's playing the video message. And
it kept rotating.
It's like, okay, is this guy turning it? Is it just broken? I wouldn't even pay attention to the message. It's like, oh, why are you turning now? What's going on? How did I fix it?
Look at me.
I'm over here.
And then we cut down to the planet where I liked this kyber crystal mining operation that they had with this, because they essentially had these trebuchets that would launch
it into the air.
Well, launch it into the air, and it's connected to a cable, and then rockets firing into the asteroid or to the rings over the planet to catch a rock and yank it back down to Earth. They're essentially fishing for kyber crystals.
Fly fishing.
Well, I could hear every time one of the things pull.
Yeah,
I mean that was pretty cool.
It was pretty funny. And then the girl that's sort of watching all this goes back to her dad, the sabersmith, and where he has just finished making a new lightsaber, and she picks it, and we saw him pick it up and just to like test it, blue blade and everything. And when she comes around and picks it up, the blade comes out, but it's colorless, and I'm like, wait. Why is that blade colorless? Because they establish, at least in this particular episode, and they're all separate continuities, but in this continuity, your connection, how strong your connection to the Force is, and which side you hew to, determines what color the blade is.
That's also because he also admitted he tweaked it for that aspect, for that lightsaber to do that. Mm-hmm. So
I got the impression it was that way for all of those lightsabers.
But because that Smith did that.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He said, I tweaked these lightsabers to be able to show.
Okay. I missed that little line of dialogue. But it was a nice touch, and the blade also could vary in length.
Again, another reason why I like this thing, because it's not your stereotypical.
I want to say that was a thing you could do. Was it Fallen Order, where you could like tweak the saber's settings so it was like you could lengthen it or like thicken the blade, but it affected the handling in some way. I want that in more Star Wars games.
Fallen Order is actually pure 100% canon.
I know it is.
And so,
but I want that aspect of it,
length and everything, because that's also how you get lightsaber pikes, because the pikes are mostly
like a pole
full
arm
staff, but the blade is actually a short. It's actually a short blade. But
at any rate,
that's actually my fighting style of lightsaber.
But right after he's finished making all these things, he bundles them up and gives them to his daughter, asking her to deliver these to the Margrave.
Well, right. I want to know one thing. I want to know how she was able to lengthen and shorten the blade. I guess he was using
well.
In theory, you should be adjusting a thing on the blade, but I think there it was by will.
It's your reflection of power shown by the blade.
It may have just been another setting that he
added to.
Yeah, that's pretty cool when she's doing the whole thing and she's it's fooling less of him. I'm like, oh god, she's gonna stab someone now.
Yeah, I was half worried that she was gonna cut her little droid in half.
Oh, the little droid was so
cool. The
little
droid, I love the design of it. It was like this little because it floated around, but it had like a little cylindrical body and a little orb on top, and these little tiny little like penguin arms that kept flapping around. And the sounds that it made were different. I like that it wasn't just another R2 droid.
It was not an R2. It was
it wasn't like BB-8. It was something different. I loved that little droid.
It was cute as all outdoors.
But anyway, these two Jedi hunters turn up, and they're like, "You're illegally making lightsabers. You're to come with us." And
I like now. Let me quick say. So in Japanese culture, there is no such thing as a bounty hunter. Hence why you never actually hear in the Jabba episode them calling
Boba Fett a
bounty hunter, and they're not referring to themselves as bounty hunters. They are Jedi hunters.
Well, I took that to mean less that they were bounty hunters and more that they were people employed specifically to just hunt Jedi.
Right. But
yes, that's may just be a specific class of bounty hunter, but at any rate.
Yeah, but I love
and another thing that we had about to tell us that the swordsmith was a Jedi was when the Jedi hunter started shooting, he deflected one of the blaster bolts with his hand into his forge, which exploded.
Yeah.
And the Jedi hunters captured the swordsmith or sabersmith, and then one of them went chasing after the girl. So then we got chasing through the
chasing.
It's like Return of the Jedi,
going through the forest, and I'm like, you know what?
And then over the frozen lake.
That's when you really can tell she's got some serious Jedi power coursing through her, because she's riding this thing, riding it backwards,
while deflecting
shots and missing trees all at the same time. And I'm like, this girl needs her own Legend series, because she is hardcore.
And she finally manages to cut the guy's speeder out from under him while on this frozen lake.
She's standing on the lake, basically say, bring it.
And the guy brings it.
He brings it, and she just
sidesteps
one slice.
He pulls
on ice. On ice.
He pulls out the gun and starts shooting. Deflect, and slice.
And then she hops on her speeder and speeds away.
He's got his gun pointed, and then he's just
I ain't about this life.
Well, no, it's not about this life, and more just, I can't hit her at this distance. I need to call for backup.
I'm gonna go with the whole line of, this girl's way too fucking much. I ain't about this life. Let me just take this guy. We're gone.
I'm gonna go with the fact of, it ain't worth this shit. I'm giving me a bill.
Yeah, basically. Well, she then has to go find transport up to the aerial temple,
which we meet the old man robots.
The robot. It was a droid sitting there like an old man sitting in a rocking chair on the porch, literally smoking a pipe.
Well, he wasn't smoking. He was drinking his tea, which is actually oil, but still the ship was just hilarious.
And when she's like, I need transport
I'm
up
on
to
break.
the... I'm on my break.
You're
Use
the
one of
only
the
one
other ones.
functioning.
Yeah.
It was the freaking droid from Hitchhiker's Guide.
Marvin, yeah.
Fine, I'll do it.
He takes her
And
up.
I mean, no.
Well-
Before we even get there, he's walking to the ship like,
Yeah.
and she's literally trying to push him.
And then but we also need to cut back to the temple at one point before we get to her and the old man robot. The Margrave's droid reveals that it had one.
It has a lightsaber.
And we see Blue.
Everyone's looking.
Crowds
over.
around it, and Blue and
Blue's like, let me
well, no,
see.
we see this one somewhat younger but older than Blue pick it up and is just sort of looking it over. They're all crowded around it, and then Blue's like, "Can I hold it?" And so he hands it over, and Blue then turns it on. We get the blue blade.
Yeah, because Blue has never seen a lightsaber in his lifetime because they don't exist
In this continuity, and so then but then she arrives with all these other lightsabers. The other masterless Jedi join around it, and then when they turn the blades on, they're all red.
Oh,
Which because they established earlier in the episode that the Sabersmith had tweaked the settings, so depending on your strength in the Force and what side you've chosen.
Well, no, they haven't gotten any of their. They didn't get any of the lightsabers yet. She still had them with her.
No, I'm saying after she arrived.
No, they never got those lightsabers.
Didn't they? I thought she put them on the ground and they all picked them up.
She put them on the ground and said, "My dad was taken by people. These are meant for you. Please help me get my dad."
Okay, so they
And
did
like,
grab.
"Oh, you know of the guy who summoned us?" As they all turn the lightsabers, it's like, this is a bad feeling. We have to sit here and wait, and they all ignite it, and it's red. Which I would say surprised the hell out of me.
Yeah, because they were all just sort of like, we can't go anywhere until we see the Margrave. And then red sabers.
I missed them picking them up because I thought, well, they had their own lightsabers that Sith.
Well, because we saw that one that survived the ensuing battle, who basically apologized. His saber started turning purple.
Yeah.
Which was an indication that he was starting to turn back from the dark side.
He literally admitted he was influenced by the
darkness and
of everyone around him.
And like I said, that scene where they all turn red kind of surprised me because I'm sitting there going, okay, these are very suspicious Jedi, but they're also people who haven't had a master. So that would be kind of makes sense where they're a little bit more out there than usual.
And why they might be a little bit hesitant about committing to anything yet.
It's like, oh yeah, we need proof that this person's real. We need proof that this is a real thing. Why is he not here? This might be a trap. Are they going to try to kill us?
And that's when, and then they activate the sabers.
And then that red came out and you're like, well, shit.
And I'm like, how the heck are they going to get out of this? And that's when the Margrave's droid walks out, and it's just sort of like, I suspected as much. And then the droid opens to reveal the Margrave was inside it the whole time.
And the Sith guy is mad.
Because he deceived them.
How dare you hide your true identity? What the hell are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can't expect hypocrisy from the Sith? No. But then, the Margrave draws his own saber, green, and...
No, he pulled it out. He force pulled it out of the dude's hand.
Oh, that's what it was. That's right.
Force pulled, turned green, and slice.
That's right. And then we had a duel between Blue, the girl, and the Margrave against everybody else.
Which I love the fact that the girl was outdoing Blue and keeping up with Margrave.
Yeah.
Margrave had 3 people on him as well.
Yeah. And as she's fighting, her saber turns green because her connection to the Force is getting stronger.
Oh, yeah.
And meanwhile, you can see the old man robot sitting in his ship, just again smoking his pipe, being like, "Nice moves." And anyway, all the traitor, all these traitors,
they are wiped out.
They get wiped out apart from one whose saber starts turning purple as he was fighting with the girl.
The one thing I don't understand, I want to know if the Margrave was Jedi or not, because here's the reason why. Jedi, now, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, is Jedi pull the lightsabers out only for one reason. They're going to make it quick and fast. solve the situation.
Jedi do not directly use their lightsabers unless for defense.
Now, he practically threw the one dude over the ledge to burn to death.
Yeah, the
Now, the thing is, Jedi will kill.
Mm-hmm.
They will kill there is no other way around.
Yeah. But, I mean, everybody else was, like, quick and pain, like, slash through that.
Well,
he was
but
like,
he was also defending the girl because, again,
and
she's fighting against.
we say the
somebody
guy,
who's actually
to
kinda
burn
good.
up. We should specify about this. That one guy got knocked over a ledge on top of this big ass kyber crystal, which I guess reacted to something and starts lighting up, and then the guy starts screaming and then burns to death.
He went poof.
And you see this beam of light sort of shooting up out through the roof of the temple. And by this point, all the other traitors are dead, apart from the one whose saber started turning purple and was apologizing.
And then
And I love
we
that.
get the cool scene.
Well, and-
the slow motion action.
Well, and basically, the Margrave explains that he does still intend to reforge the Jedi Order, and he wants wants those three to join him, and they're going to go rescue the
Her
girl's
father.
father. And so then we get the power walk out of the temple, slow mo, the robes billowing and everything.
No, robes billowing, everybody looking
And they
completely determined and badass.
And his ship sort of warps, like hyperspace,
Warps in.
right, and right underneath the temple, and then
Warps right back out.
And then as we pull back from the planet, it rotates, so we see that the temple with the beam of light still coming out of it is shaped to look like a lightsaber.
And I thought that was the coolest shit
very
ever.
symbolic. Yeah, very good. It was a great little episode. Again, one of those ones I wouldn't mind seeing a follow up.
Oh, yeah. Because that's one thing I will give him on this. I liked each ending. It felt like it was a nice ending.
It was an ending, but it also left things open for more.
And I will say, out of all the endings, I was not expecting number 9 when we get
Oh
to
yeah,
it.
number 9 was definitely sort of the twist after all of the others.
Yes.
But episode 6, Toby, very much more cartoony sort of style in this one.
More kid friendly.
Yep. Basically, there's this scientist. We find out later, Jedi, but
Dr.
this
Light.
who has very much looks like Dr. Light. Sort of a bit little rotund. He's got this big bushy white beard.
The thing
I don't think he had any arms.
he did.
Well,
He
no,
did.
we saw his Force Ghost did, but I think when he was
always like this, though.
I'm not so sure, because I could have sworn I saw there were instances where his like the sleeves were hanging at his side. He had maybe like a cloak on over it, but I don't think there was anything in those sleeves. Now he could have just done the very Japanese thing of pulling the arms out of the sleeves and folding them inside the robe, but I got the impression that he had lost his arms somehow.
No,
His Force Ghost, yes, still had.
He had arms because he was fixing the robots, and for a brief period you actually
Yeah,
saw
but
him
when
working
he's
on-
doing it, he sat in that chair, and there are those little like manipulator things coming out.
Yeah,
of him.
but at one point he actually did pull it. He did
Okay,
pull his
but
arm.
anyway.
How about this? Half of them had arms, half of them did not.
Anyway, but this scientist is trying to terraform this planet, this barren
Bring
planet.
it back to life.
There's no clouds there. There's no water. There's no plant life.
We should probably bring this back a little bit more. The animation style for this was something we should really kick on. Because there was old school Astro Boy,
Yeah,
Cyborg
very
009.
Yeah,
It
I called the Astro Boy thing as well with the character designs
I
and
mean,
everything.
even to the point where the professor was walking. Did you notice when the professor was walking, every step he took, he had a beat every time in the background? Like, everything screamed old school animation. With this one.
And they were like Mickey Mousing the music and everything to all this. And Toby, has been like upgraded a few times to get taller and whatnot. But he's heard stories of Jedi and everything, and he wants to be.
He's
fascinated. He's fascinated. He wants to be a Jedi, but and he's just sort of like, when can I stop doing all these calculations and everything? And the doctor is just like, I told you, when there are clouds in the sky, and the planet is covered in green.
Yeah.
And then the story inside of the story kicks in, which I like that one, where he starts drawing the adventures of Toby the Jedi.
Yeah.
so
and
childlike.
then it's like the doctor sort of realizes I can't stop him dreaming about this, and he's like, well, and then he tells him, I heard that there is a kyber crystal on this planet with which a Jedi can use to build their lightsaber.
Well, here's the thing, though. Do you think he did that, or do you think that he was going with the Force? Because he was sitting there going, hey, I'm having this dream, constantly, he's repeating his dream about how he became a Jedi. And it's kind of funny, until he mentioned his dream, he was like, keep your head down here, you're safe here.
Yeah,
and then he mentioned the dream, and that's when he drops a little hint on...
It could be that, he saw that Toby having dreams is sort of a sign. It's like, okay, he's ready for the next step. And so, but then Toby's, with his little droid buddy, CO3, I think is what he was called. Another little cute design.
None of the droids here match any droids you see anywhere else. There's no BB-8 looking ones.
Yeah, there's no R2 units.
There's nothing out there that because you sit there and say.
I think that there were a couple that may have looked like one-off little droids in like background of some scenes, but otherwise, yeah, all very unique designs. Yeah. But so Toby goes wandering around the planet looking for the kyber crystal. Finally, he finds this old ship and like fires it up.
Oh no! Don't tell me. He was told specifically
never to go in the basement.
That's right. That's what it was.
And then he goes, I have looked everywhere on this planet for this crystal besides one place.
That's what it was. It was the basement.
And that's when the droid said the same thing in that's your connection point right there.
The only commonality that across all of the episodes was
I have a bad feeling about this.
Yep.
Every time
it came up, I was like, they said
trouble.
the thing. Yeah, you don't want to say that word because that's usually when things go wrong.
And like a child with a new toy, he's pushing the buttons
in the ship, and
he turns.
This is a message to all Jedi.
He actually activated the
comms relay.
Comms, and was talking, and he was generally being a little boy, but
fantasizing, but not realizing that he was actually
broadcasting, and he broadcasted to the enemy.
And a Star Destroyer picked it up, and there's this Sith Lord or whatever.
Well, I'm going Sith Mac because that guy had like freaking mouth like a fucking candy opener thing.
He was more cyborg than anything, but yes. And so this Dark Lord shows up, starts coming.
First, the professor sees him and is angry.
Doctor's mad at him.
He pulls the ship door open with his force powers, and you see him slightly put that down and slowly start moving the walks. He's not losing his temper, which is amazing at this.
He's clearly been at this a long time, so he has great control over his emotions.
And he's like, I can't believe it. He was being nice to him. He goes, he's putting away, he senses the force of the guy. He goes, just stay here no matter what. And
he leaves him with the pieces of his lightsaber,
that
too.
part there where Toby sat there and said, are you going to shut me down? Because
because he was worried that it's like, are you going to mercy kill me?
Because that's like a kid who did something wrong. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Please don't.
It's like the equivalent of go to your room.
Yeah.
But Toby shuts down for a little bit, and then when he comes to, all the other droids apart from CO3 are wrecked, and the Doctor is gone. I'll give the Sith Lord some credit. He built a cairn with all the stones.
That was very strange.
I don't know if it was him or
because all the other droids were gone, were dead. The only one that was left was CO3, who stayed with Toby.
Right. So yeah,
or TOB1, which is what. Toby.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was a sign of respect or what.
But regardless,
there have been signs of respect for worthy fights.
Regardless,
they regard Sith regard strength as
they respect strength.
Yeah, they respect strength.
You were a worthy opponent. I'm building you a grave.
Fight that they had.
That he left a grave marker.
You know what? You earned this, so here you go.
And Toby rebuilds all the droids, and basically is just like, I'm going to finish the Doctor's work, and
he levels up.
Yeah, he levels up.
He leveled up.
He leveled up.
And he brought the world back to life. There's clouds in the sky. It's there's greenery growing around the world, around the planet. It's raining, and when there's rain, there's usually lightning.
Well, no, you gotta remember. You gotta keep in mind at this point in time when it started raining and all the motion kicked in, the crystal came out of him.
It's like, yeah, oh, that's right, because the Kyber crystal, it turned out, had been powering Toby. It's like, it's literally it's like the power was inside you all along.
Don't say that. We always might have a flashback all of a sudden. Oh, there it goes. He's flashbacking.
No flashback. We continue this. We
Well,
go
and
forward.
so then the Sith Lord turns up again.
Which I don't understand that. I guess it...
Maybe because the planet essentially came back to life. As far as he knew, there was nothing living on that planet. What caused the planet to come back to life?
But that had to be very fast, because unless the video was being messed with in time-wise...
Yeah, they did a big time lapse and all that.
Well, no, because the planet started as tail form, and then it actually happened, and that's when he became he had a lightsaber instantly.
He found his balance.
And then instantly after that, the
Sith Lord turns up.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think of the freaking plane, not the X-wing, the
TIE Fighter.
The TIE Fighter shows up, and it's like, was this man just chilling here? Did he have nothing else go?
Who knows? You're not supposed to think about that too much. This is all very stylized.
This is coming from the same guy who goes, when the Jedi start breathing in air? Breathing in space.
You're just supposed to not think about it and just enjoy it
Go
because
with the
rule
ride.
of cool and rule of drama. So, but yeah, the Sith Lord turns up, and so then there's a fight between Toby, who is literally just awakened into force powers that nobody expected him to have. But
I love the fact that he held his own, though.
Yep.
Which I love. If any of my friends listen to this, I'm going to laugh in your face right now. Because androids can't have force powers, so ha!
Point of order. Look at the episode description. A cybernetic boy.
So
Cybernetic means that there is organic parts,
well,
which
still
means he
has
is
some
living.
organic.
He is not fully mechanical. The Sith Lord thought he was because he chopped off one of the arms and it was mechanical. But you know what? Darth Vader, was a quadruple amputee.
He was cyborg.
He was a cyborg.
Yeah, I still say he was android. Because, there's no point of him. Because how could he be... Unless they pull the brain out. Because the crystal came out of his chest.
Right. The brain may actually be the human part.
So we went Robocop on this man?
Sure.
Yes. Why not?
Oh, God.
Light side or dark side, you're coming with me.
Oh, God. Could you think about this? Maybe it was... my brain's been in a dark place. So, the reason that the Toby was so close, because remember he was hugging the professor, is because something happened to the professor's kid, and he had to cut open the brain.
Astro Boy!
Yes! God bless it!
But Toby uses a little bit of ingenuity besides just force powers, and has the droids overload the steam valves or whatever in the lab, and essentially blows it up to take down the Sith Lord.
Yep.
And then packs up the ship, takes some of the lab stuff with him, and sets off into the galaxy.
Remember, he didn't die to the steam. He died because he fused with his little robot guy.
Oh, to help take him down. That's right, because
they
CO3
did a
is
Mega Man upgrade.
CO3 had like the
yeah.
Mega Man upgrades.
The steam hit him, and he was like, ah! And then the steam exploded, and he's like, ha ha ha! You didn't kill me. And he's like, he called out his little buddy, and his little buddy fused into him and made him a jetpack, and just like, shoo.
Yep, single stroke battle, kills him, and then packs up the ship with lab stuff. And
because Jedi go out to help people.
Well, he's like, we're going to bring life to other planets and protect them because that's what Jedi do.
Which is true.
Yep.
He was doing exactly as he should.
Mm-hmm. Then we had episode 7, The Elder.
I like this one as well. This was
again another sort of
just
like
a small
another
story,
and it's had a similar thing where it's like a Jedi comes to a planet where there's something is wrong, and because just like in The Village Bride, but in this case it's a Jedi and his Padawan. They're just patrolling. They're just patrolling, and the Jedi in particular has, according to his apprentice, has basically been everywhere.
He's been everywhere, and the apprentice wanted to see areas and see excitement, and
he hasn't been seeing much excitement, but he's still he's still eager to travel with his master, and then his master feels a great disturbance. and they go to the only inhabited planet in the area, where the Padawan quickly sort of bonds with these 3 like local kids.
I will say one thing. I realized that watching at the same time. One of the things I do not like about this is just how the dialogue is. Mainly because I understand that they're supposed to be very mellow people, but I feel like they just kind of read a line and call it a day in the spaceship fight.
I got sort of Afro Samurai vibes off of this episode.
Oh, yeah,
So like in the style of animation and the character designs and whatnot.
Because I mean, like when they're having that talk in the spaceship, it's just like I have no emotion or feeling.
Well,
I want to go.
That is a criticism of like Republic era Jedi, is that they keep the emotions in check so much that they are just like blank.
Even the guy who's like, I want to get combat more excited is like.
And then when his master gives him a slightly sardonic, if flat effect statement, the Padawan is just sort of like, such wisdom, with a little bit of sarcasm thrown in, but he's still keeping the sort of flat effect. But basically, there's this the people on this planet tell them of this stranger from an unknown tribe that had arrived recently in his own ship, and then went off into the mountains. And so the Jedi and the Padawan split up. The Jedi goes to investigate the ship. The Padawan takes the kids as a guide to head up into the mountains.
Because he can handle the mountains over the old man. Mm-hmm. And the old man is like, really? You want to play that game?
But we can play this game.
And as soon as the Jedi sees the ship, he's just sort of like, shit, that's a Sith ship. And as if you couldn't tell by looking at it, because black and red. And when the kids eventually lead the Padawan to some area, and that's when
they find an animal.
That's right.
The animals that
was dead, and the Padawan tells the kids to leave. As he goes to investigate, he's the master and the Padawan are communicating. The master's telling him about the ship that's probably a Sith, and the Padawan mentions that he found this dead animal with a clean cut to the neck. It was done by a lightsaber. And, the master's immediately like, get out of there. And the Padawan turns around and, boop, there he is. The elder, this wizened little old man. And thing you have to remember, doesn't matter if it's Star Wars or Kung Fu movie or any sort of situation. Rule 1, do not act incautiously when confronted by little smiling old bald man.
Little smiling bald man will whip your ass.
Doesn't matter about the yellow teeth. That's a warning sign, sure. But if you're confronted by a little, small, bald, old man who's smiling, be cautious.
Well, which one you could be more afraid of? The one that's smiling or the one that's smiling you with yellow teeth?
I'm not necessarily going to be alarmed by the yellow teeth. Some people just have bad dental hygiene.
Dude, it's always the evil ones that have the yellow teeth.
No, it's the ones that have the black and yellow eyes that are the evil ones.
Okay, I'll go for that true fact.
Because that was another thing about this elder.
Yeah.
And the elder's looking at him, and the smile on his face is just sort of like, I can sense the force in you. It's just sort of like, but you're not the one that
He's not the one he's looking for.
Yeah, you're not the one I sensed. And
I mean, he'd kill you so I can bring out your master.
And the Padawan is just like, I'm not going to go down so easy. And the elder's just like, I hope not. And pulls out these two red blade, like sort of short sword style, and he's real fast.
He is fucking.
And the Padawan manages to hold his own for a little while, but
again,
the guy's got age and experience and trickery on his side, and manages to wound the Padawan. And when the master turns up, he's just sort of like, I don't really want to have to fight, but you clearly want it, so
you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yep, and he does a lot better against the elder, but
like he even said, if I fought against him in his prime, I don't think it would have been the same outcome.
Yeah, and even the elder admitted that he's not as good as he once was. But there was one moment when as they clash, where the master manages to snatch one of the blades away from him. And they, quickly separate, and the Jedi tosses the blade up in the air, just does like a single upward stroke without looking. You just hear the saber get cut, and then you see the two pieces fall to the ground. And then the elder just sort of starts snarling, starts charging up some force lightning in his hands, and the Jedi manages to put him down, but it was like one of those could have gone either way sort of moments. And because the Padawan distracted him because the Padawan wasn't dead, and ignited his lightsaber and sent it flying at him. And so the elder had to deflect it.
And then the guy went in and
he literally deactivated his lightsaber, but put the saber straight up against his chest and just activated it. And the elder survived long enough to detonate his ship, so that the Jedi couldn't
figure out where he came from.
Mm-hmm. See, that's one thing about this
now,
guy I don't
the
understand.
thing about that is
spite. That's why he did.
Well, no, not that.
And I'm wondering if these. Especially in this one, because there's a thing about the Outer Rim and beyond it, which goes back to Knights of the Old Republic. There's an area outside the Outer Rim somewhere where
unknown regions
Sith can go to get stronger, and it was first brought up in, of course, the first Knights of the Old Republic when Revan and Malak came back, and they were like damn near unstoppable. I'm wondering if he is one of the Sith that are out there.
Could be.
Who came back.
That would
tired of being
that would be a
here.
thing I would love to see them explore in future Star Wars properties.
And the only reason I was thinking of that is because he destroyed the ship, because I'm thinking
it had navigational data.
He doesn't want them to go back to where he came from. And I'm like, that sounds like Revan and Malak very much.
The thing I don't get is the fact that he's supposed to be a Sith, and Sith is supposed to be evil. But yet he didn't kill anybody in the town.
I think he
came looking for.
He was
someone strong to fight,
and he didn't place his
there wasn't anyone there until.
Well, and even he said that he wasn't a Sith anymore. He was a dark side.
He was a dark sider.
Oh, why? Because the Sith lost their way.
Yeah,
because they were too busy backstabbing.
Backstabbing each other to do anything worthwhile.
I think he was literally looking for somebody strong enough to kill him.
Disney, are you trying to tell us something?
Hey,
stop backstabbing everybody.
Ooh.
I mean, they are the evil empire of the Western media nowadays because they're just snapping up everything. But it was a good episode. And then we had episode 8, Lop and Ocho.
Which brings me to another thing. I love the new species they've been putting in these things.
Yeah.
Like in the second one with the band, you had the dude with the 3 bodies.
Oh, yeah, the 3-bodied guys, yeah.
That was cool. And then this one, they brought in
the rabbit people.
Which is, I'm like, okay.
Like a slave race or something. I initially assumed that they were native to that planet, but then the interaction Lop had with the father and the sister shortly after that she's not from that planet. So they were clearly brought in by the Empire to work in
slaves
to get the resources on this planet. And it's established that this planet is fairly advanced, but is not fully modern as compared to the rest of the galaxy. But they're rich in resources they want to modernize, and so to that end, they reached out to the Empire. And so the Empire's was like, "What? You have a resource-rich planet that you're inviting us to exploit? Thank you."
We need to talk.
But Lop is one of these slaves who escaped, and she's just running around, sort of snatching some fruit now and then where she can, and then she meets this man and his young daughter, who's about the same age as Lop, and they recognize that she's an escaped slave, and they just decide they're going to take her in.
Well, not they.
Well,
the
daughter decides to take her in.
The daughter throws in their dad's face, "You're supposed to be a nice gentleman who does all this thing." And he's like, "You forced my hand now. I have to take her in."
And so he agrees. And then the little droid that had been following Lop around cuts the collar off of her. At that moment, I'm like, Why didn't you cut it off sooner if you had that capability?
Again, another awesome little droid.
Yeah.
He's so cute.
He reminded me some of, I forget the droid's name in Fallen Order, the one that
Oh
rides
God,
on
I
Cal's
do
back.
not know that droid's name. And
BD.
that
It was like BD something.
something
He was.
on
He
that
reminded
thing
me a
was
lot of BD.
absolutely.
He
Cool
reminded me
as
of a
hell.
freaking polar camel on someone with arms.
Well, that's literally what it was, because
It
as
was-
soon as the
it was
daughter,
a data center, camera, little laser, and legs. That's it. It was the coolest
and
thing on Earth.
it snapped a little hollow picture of the new little family, and then 7 years later, the father is not happy. The father, who is a respected lord in the local area, is not happy about the Empire's modernization. That they feel like they're losing their culture, and that they're ruining the planet, with pollution and stuff.
But daughter, on the other hand, thinks that it's good for what's happening because that's the only way for them to survive. And
Well, it's the only way for them to progress, is what she said. Progress, not survive.
Yeah, she wants progress.
And so there's this fight going on at the Imperial compound, and everybody there's a fight going on between the two. Their retainers or whatever are trying to keep the two separated because they're clearly about.
Well,
to
there's
go
also an
to blows.
explosion though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And she's not happy with her father for advocating these sorts of attacks on the Imperials, and he's not happy with her for basically ignoring what they're doing to the planet, all in the name of progress. And Lop is just sort of like torn because
She wants her family.
she wants her family, and she goes off with Ocho, the daughter, to who's meeting with an Imperial officer.
Where you can tell it's just slime incarnate.
Oh yeah, I got like Handsome Jack vibes off of this guy in terms of appearance.
That's putting him too good. I think even he's
No. I'm, if anything, slandering Handsome Jack by comparing somebody not quite as evil as Jack to that guy.
Oh,
But he was slime. He was sleaze right from word one.
He was pure, utter evil.
And this is when Lop realizes that Ocho, yes, is the one who has informed the Imperials about what her father has been doing, and is throwing her lot in with them. And then what's clearly a very culturally significant thing, she takes her braid.
No, you forget the most brutal part. She bites her own thumb to make it bleed and does the eye thing.
Does like the eye makeup,
And
yeah.
then she does the haircut.
And she cuts off her braid, hands it to Lop, and then leaves with the officer. And Lop just sort of tearfully runs back to the house.
No, tearfully falls, and somehow the Force willing it doesn't get cut in half by cables.
Yeah. Well, as we find out later, yeah, Force, literally. Because, but she returns back to the house, and basically the father and only like a handful of people are still there.
Oh, because other people are cowards.
Yeah, and because they're now like, wait, the Empire's gonna come after us. I didn't sign up for the spy.
I love what he said. I wish I'd done this in retail. Before I left, take my leave of absence.
Yeah.
They requested leave before they left.
Well, I think that's sort of meant to evoke something from probably Eastern culture, where it's just sort of like, even if you're leaving, you sort of ask permission from the Lord.
Oh, I was taking that from the fact they want more money before they left.
That maybe.
That could be true too.
But Lop, and he then takes Lop into this like family shrine.
Because she asked for the strength to help fight for his fight.
Fight for her family.
Yep, fight for her family, and so that's when he
she's
takes.
all about family, and the father finally realizes that the successor isn't his daughter; it's
Lop. And he then brings out a lightsaber from the shrine, and places his hands on the floor. And I couldn't tell if this was supposed to be like a force projection or if there was like actual hollow projection going on there. I'm going to go with force projection because that's cooler.
Yeah.
I'm going
Especially,
hologram.
well,
But-
especially
but
because
see-
she turned on her little scouter and is looking around, and he tells her to look at it with your own eyes.
I'm gonna go hologram because remember in the things you're talking about, we're talking about how the Jedi trained them.
Yeah, a Jedi crashes on this planet and trained his ancestor, and they have passed this down from
Generation to generation.
and he's passing it on to her and not to his daughter.
Because family is about more than blood.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course, when
He gives...
father goes to confront the daughter, Lop has to follow and is trying to break it up, and has to break out the lightsaber.
Mm-hmm. And she goes into the Imperial compound where the father and what
forces
few,
he had left
are fighting with the Imperial droids and
Ninjas versus Death Droids, I thought they were.
basically, and this
loser versus loser, because there's no way you're going to win this one, buddy.
and the daughter has essentially like two. It was, I don't know exactly what that weapon was supposed to be. It had like 3 segments to it, and they were connected by more like
It's an actual real weapon.
I know, but I couldn't tell
like,
exactly what it was supposed to be.
You have the power of Google.
It looked like it looked like a version of the Shade with like little tiny, very tiny.
Well, they were like little
Electro
blades on the ends of it, and she's fighting with her father, who's using like some like swordbreaker blades.
Yeah. Now, it's again another thing that's been established in canon. There are blades that can match a lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
Vibro
blades. Yep.
Vibro blades, yes. So it could have been a variation on the vibro blade.
And we should also note the daughter is fully decked out in Imperial garb.
Yeah, she went.
The dog has gone batshit crazy. What are we talking about?
Full on bitch
and
mode.
Finally, like Lop.
After the dad gets his last good eye cut out.
Yeah, because the father, even before he adopted Lop, had lost an eye in some sort of fight, clearly, because he had scars on his face, not just the one over his eye.
Probably dealing with his brat daughter.
Maybe. But
we're gonna blame everything on the daughter.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. He goes down, and when she goes in for the kill, that's when Lop comes in and pulls out the lightsaber
With another nice streak on it, because it had the actual whiting.
Yeah,
in the
it had
blade.
like the
That was
a nice little touch.
That was a beautiful.
I love
sight.
that. I want the Sabersmith's like maker's mark to be on all the sabers that he made for the Jedi in that episode.
Oh my god!
In the Ninth Jedi, I want that thing to be a thing going forward for lightsabers. You don't have to work it in there, but if you get a close up, you get a close up on a
want that to
lightsaber
be
like that.
continued because she's the 9th Jedi. I want to see all the other 8 together and see how they just run shit.
You know, Disney's very evil. I just thought about this
Right.
because they have over in Florida a place where you can make your own lightsaber.
Mm-hmm.
They just increased their building capacity by going, here's some extra parts from the new Vision.
Yeah, and it's just like everybody's going to want to make one as unique as they possibly can from all the little components. Yep.
Nope.
Oh, and probably Ultra Saber or whatever.
Ultra Sabers is where
they're probably watched that episode. And all these episodes were like, fuck. Okay, let's start 3D printing that shit
we're
now.
We're about to get run over, boys.
But but the two of them clash, and Ocho's not happy because Lop now has the heirloom blade of the family, and she's like, "That's mine. That's mine. I'm his daughter.
I'm the heir.
I'm his blood."
And she's just like,
the dad said the best thing. If you cannot see that she's family, then I have failed you, and I'm sorry.
I failed you as a daughter.
Yep.
As my daughter.
Jesus Christ, guys. Stop pushing the punches in.
And you could see she was slightly affected by it, but she was still sort of too far gone to really accept it. And Lop managed to lay a pretty... Lop held her own, and she's like awakening her own force powers and everything because she pulled one of the father's blades over to.
That's after the robot got destroyed.
Oh yeah,
He's like, you guys are family. Stop fighting. He shows a picture, and he just gets sliced.
You fucked with the droid. The droid is all that this was about. Pain was all you were going to get from this point on.
Which I do like to ask one question of you guys. She goes, I am going to bring back my sister. And what does she do? She puts 2 blades and an X across her chest.
But she survived.
Yeah, how would she know that?
Because she saw her. She went flying over the side.
How would she know? If I want to come at you to put 2 X's in your chest.
That's fair. But
that's not bringing you.
That's fair.
That's not bringing you back. That's bringing you down.
Well, I mean, what other choice did she have?
She had no choice.
Well, and here's the thing: if we get a follow up to that, and she does manage to redeem Ocho, we know what's going to happen to Ocho as soon as she gets redeemed.
Die?
Yeah, this is a Star Wars universe. Redemption equals death in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
it's like in Bad Batch in season 2 or whatever. If Crosshair ever does finally accept that the Empire is not what he thought it was, and he wants to come back to the Batch and tries to prove himself in some way, as soon as he does that, he's gonna die.
Oh yeah, he's gonna die a horrible death.
But the episode ends. Ocho survives this like double blade across the chest thing and escapes on an Imperial ship that caught her and flies off. But clearly, Lop is intending to continue to fight against the Empire to try to bring her sister back.
She is pissed. Mm-hmm. You have taken from her.
But the father is still alive.
Yeah,
blind,
he's just blind. But I'm under the impression he's going to be probably the one teaching Lop more of how to use the Force because he knows how to use it.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to be a blind Jedi master just like Kanan.
And that's going to be cool as shit.
And then we had episode 9, Akakiri, which was the one that sort of turned a lot of things on its head. And by the end of the episode, it turned a lot.
At this point in time, I think we've only had, 3 or 4 unique animation styles? Because you had unique animation style for the first one, the Ronin.
Yep, for the duel, and then for Toby. And Tatooine Rhapsody.
Yes. And then every other one looked kind of like generic anime style.
I wouldn't say generic. They had a definite style to them, but they weren't as stylized as some of the others.
That's what I mean by generic. I mean, when you say anime, it's never always generic. There's always a little bit of fling to it.
Yeah, that's true.
But it's not like how it was, that's clearly Astro Boy here.
Yeah.
This was one of those ones that the animation popped out a little more, at least for me, because I think it was similar to the same art style as Symbiotic Titan.
Which I'm not familiar with, but I'll take your word for it. But Akakiri is another one of those ones where a Jedi comes to a planet to try to combat some darkness that's going on. In this case, this young Jedi who had been in love with the princess of this kingdom or whatever, they clearly established a connection, but his duties as a Jedi meant that he could not be with her, and so he left. But then...
So he did the opposite of what Anakin did.
Correct.
He did the thing that was supposed to be done.
Like Obi-Wan did.
Obi-Wan loved the Queen of Mandalore, but he was not going to...
He was not going to compromise his Jedi principles.
And she still loved him for it.
And he still loved her, but it's like she accepted...
They just could not be together.
And I'm going to separate a little bit. If Obi-Wan had just admitted to Anakin that I did love her, but I accepted that my Jedi principles come first, we still love each other, but we can't be with one another. Maybe that might have helped Anakin accept that I can love Padme, she can love me, but we can't really be together. Maybe then it wouldn't.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, probably not.
Anyway. Vader, I'm cool with. Anakin can go kick rocks in a minefield.
You shook him up. Why did you have to shake him up?
Anyway, let's get back to Visions and get back to Akakiri.
Yeah.
Happy so this Jedi receives word that the king was overthrown, that there was a Sith in the royal family, and has seized control of the kingdom. So he goes there, and he's starting. And as he arrives, he starts getting force visions of somebody getting cut down by a lightsaber, and he's clearly disturbed by this because the impression that at first I thought, is he having a flashback sort of thing? But no, as we find out later, it was more a premonition.
I mean, he was in pain.
Mm-hmm. And he gets attacked by a bunch of the Shogun's little like orc minions or whatever, who are riding like cassowaries or something.
Horses with no face and a beak.
No, they were two-legged like birds with hooves.
God, chocobos with no face and a beak.
There you go, chocobos.
Chocobos.
Because
You gotta
Japan.
have the chocobo.
But he gets rescued by the princess and these two old men that basically know their way around the area to avoid patrols and stuff. And
I love how he calls them out. It's like, okay, I understand why I'm here, but why do we need those two? They can't fight.
And the two of them even admit, yeah, we can't fight, but you need to get in there without getting caught because they're looking for you, buddy. And we know how to get you to the palace without getting caught. And they manage to make it most of the way, and then there's like roadblocks on the main road, and so then the Jedi's just like, we can take this path. And they're like, no, that leads up the path of the gods. Nobody that goes that way ever comes back. And he's just like, it's superstition. And
we have to go that way because there's no other way to go.
Yeah, basically. And it's all cold and wet and rainy. One of the old men sort of falls back, and when they emerge from the storm,
he's missing.
And the princess wants to go back for him. The other old man's just sort of like, no, we need to get you onward. He knew that he probably wouldn't come back, but the Jedi's like, I'll go get him.
Fine, I'll do it.
And he's still getting like the premonitions and everything, but they managed to make it to the city and to a little hideout where the Jedi turns up with the other old man. She pays them for it. Oh, and we should note that they were fully against going up the path and wouldn't take her. And she's like, I'll pay you an extra 300. And they're like, what? 500. she's like, done. And they're like, okay. That's sort of like, yeah, we're getting paid, but maybe we won't live to see it.
So the question is, how much is your life worth? Apparently to them it's 500.
Mm-hmm. An extra 500.
Extra 500.
But she pays them.
Yes,
and then the time comes to infiltrate the palace. They distract the guards by having the old men pose as them on the ridgetop, lighting some bales of hay on fire and rolling them down into the courtyard. The orcs or whatever go chasing after them, while the princess and the Jedi sneak into the palace, where the Shogun is waiting for them. And, she gets captured like immediately, and she gets sort of spirited off as the Jedi is ready to confront the Shogun, but he has another one of those like attacks or whatever, and she's basically taunting him that you are not strong enough, but with me you could be, kind of thing. It's like you were having visions that the princess would die. You are not strong enough to save her, kind of thing. And
well, it doesn't help that he kind of does cut her in half.
Well, I hadn't gotten to that point yet.
Oh, I thought the boasting happened after that.
She boasts again about that.
Oh, okay.
But
I must have missed the first one.
The two of them like clash, and as he gets another one of his attacks and like collapses, the Shogun sort of steps back and then just summons some of her guards forward, and he gets back up and cuts down one or two, and then the last one.
I don't think she summoned on those.
She did.
I think she force pushed them.
Well, I think she summoned like at least the first three, but the last one she did the gesture again, and it was that one. You notice I noticed at the last second had their arms restrained, and then as he cuts that one down, suddenly you hear the princess cry out, and he then realizes this is what the vision was. I just killed the woman I love. And that's when the Shogun is just sort of like, I can help you save her, but only if you join me as my apprentice. And he's
Where
just...
have we heard this before? Mm-hmm. Wait, didn't this happen with Raven?
Not just... Well, you're going with Titans. I'm going... We've heard this same sort of recruitment speech in Star Wars.
Well, yeah, that's your area of expertise, though. So.
Episode 3.
Don't
This is one of the part of how Palpatine managed to talk Anakin around.
Yeah,
It's just like that, because Anakin had been plagued with visions that Padme was going to die.
And it was all his fault.
And, you know, and it was his fear that she would die, that, you know, and Palpatine claiming that there was a Sith legend about somebody that could that could create life. You know, it sort of tempted him enough to go that way. And it turned out, no, by going to the dark side, you basically sealed your own fate and Padme's.
Right. Now,
congratulations.
The truth of the matter, though, was, yes, Palpatine did actually trade and actually killed his master, who was the one
Darth Plagueis,
who actually had the ability to bring someone back from the dead. But, doofus, you had to have the person nearby in order to do so. What did you do? You force choked your girl.
And then she died
carrying 2 babies.
And then died of a broken heart.
Right. So, you fucked up yourself.
Yep.
Royally.
Mm-hmm.
That's my bad. I shook up the roads again.
No, it's fine. I'm the one who shook up the road. You were trying to take it to Titans. I took it back to Star Wars.
Road pig is a little bit past. Yes.
Well, but at any rate, the Jedi Tsubaki or something like that.
Yeah, Tsubaki.
Accepts the Shogun's help, and you know,
Brings
together
her
they bring her back, and then you know, Shogun's like, come, we can now must restore order to the galaxy, and he then walks off with her while the princess is looking at him in shock as he goes, "Yes, my master," and then pulls his hood up over his face. I was half waiting for him to turn and for you to see the yellow Sith eyes or something.
And that takes time to form.
Not really.
It
That
usually
takes time to form.
it usually occurs rather quickly. The eyes are the first thing that truly change when you switch. So,
but it's not a permanent thing because Palpatine didn't have the yellow eyes for most of his appearances in the prequel trilogy. It wasn't until he got scarred in his fight with Mace that.
But it's something you can hide if you train. It's a training you have to undergo in order to do it, and vast majority of them do not do the training.
You did the training. It's called contact surgery.
LASIK?
Yes.
You too can hide your Sith eyes.
God help me.
Yeah, and well, I'm not gonna. Let's get back to this. But it was another good episode, and it was a nice twist on everything because in every single other one, the good prevailed.
Some sort of hope.
Yeah, good prevailed, and in this case, evil wins.
Yeah, evil won this one flat out.
So they're all obviously their own separate continuities, but all 9 of these, I wouldn't mind seeing a follow up in season 2.
See, there's one. I already told you which one I want to see a prequel.
Yeah,
but I
want to see a prequel to The Village Bride.
I do want to see not a prequel or a sequel. The one I got a mid one of the Lop and Ochon.
Of Lop and Ocho, like what happened between
those
7 years?
She went from bring her in, she would be family, to she is not family. What pushed her? Something pushed her off that ledge.
Yeah, some sort of interquel for Lop and Ocho would be good. Sort of showing maybe how the relationship.
Or do it as when you do it in the in a prequel sequel, or do it like a little backstory, like
some flashback.
Yeah, just show how that happened because that was a very strange turn for a character. Well,
we barely got a glimpse at her character in that one scene.
But
it is a marked change there. But yeah, all of Visions is great if you are a Star Wars fan.
Oh, even if you're not,
check it out because It's one of those things, kind of like Mandalorian, Episode 1, Chapter 1 of Mandalorian. You don't need to know anything about Star Wars going in. You'll pick up everything you need to know just watching it.
Or just enjoy the view.
Enjoy the art styles.
They're good short stories to really get into.
It's like, and even if season 2 has just 9 new stories that don't follow up on any of these, I'd be fine with that also.
I would not.
I would be disappointed, but I would not be.
I would not say I'm not going to watch it. I would watch it, but I would still be I'll be still angry about it. Come on, no.
But this is basically what I've been wanting from Star Wars.
Short stories about others
and it doesn't
anyone else other than the damn Skywalker clan.
That's the thing. I've been. You have an entire galaxy to play with. Why do we have to keep focusing on the Skywalker side?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I actually want them to go even further. I want them to go back to the Old Republic. Give us some stories centered around Cal Castile, Revan,
any of that stuff.
Revan and Malik get together.
They're starting to do that with some of the novels. There's like the High Republic era novels that are going on right now.
But I would like to see like either animated or live action.
I have the answer to why we keep coming back to the Skywalker clan. Because they're the center of the universe. That's why.
No,
they're not.
No, the center of the universe is me.
Are you a Skywalker fan?
No.
I'm pretty sure you are.
No.
Are you sure?
I am sure.
Okay.
I am not in this part of the Skywalker clan, but I am the center of the universe. I am the binge czar. Damn it, I can say that.
He's going on a power trip right now, going to the dark side. He has cookies.
I'm the one who
I
ate
know
cookies.
the power of the dark side.
Oh God, the oatmeal cookies. What?
I ate the cookies. Therefore, I am.
But yeah, we've been going for a while on this, but then we were covering 9 episodes of all this. It was very, very good. I want season 2 immediately, and I want the Ronin novel.
I need the Ronin novel.
I need that in my life.
I'm hoping that almost every one of these get a novel or something like that. That would make me want to read that a little more.
But yeah, more stuff like this, Disney. Anthology stuff. Whether you do it in Visions or whether you're doing just like another. Maybe take it back to the same animation studio that makes Clone Wars stuff. Maybe once you're done with Bad Batch, just give us an anthology series where you're doing stuff like this, where you're just doing self-contained little episodes that don't necessarily all have to tie into one overarching narrative, like What If is starting to do.
Yeah.
But that's the topic for another podcast another day once What If is over. But that's going to wrap up this edition of the Mandocast for now. So unless there's anything else either of you two want to add.
No, I'm good.
All right, Road.
Lightsabers everywhere.
Yes.
And don't step on the crystal.
Yeah, don't step on the giant Kaiba crystal.
Don't fall on it either.
Yeah.
Could you put a stick on a giant Kaiba crystal?
It's going to come out extremely well done.
Oh, that's true.
It's going to get carbonized completely. What you're going to have after that is charcoal. But yes, that wraps up this edition of the Mandocast. So for Zeke and the Road, I am Jay, and we will see you whenever another Star Wars thing comes out. Probably when Book of Boba Fett drops in a couple months. Yep.
That's December, ain't it?
Yep.
Yes.
But until then,
if I have to, I will camp out over here so we can just watch all of them. Like, don't worry, I'll bring my laptop. I can work from here.
So until then, may the Force be with you.
Thanks for listening to Abort to Death Mandocast. Be sure to check out all the Star Wars content on Disney Plus and give us a like and subscribe. This is the way.